The following may contain language that is not appropriate for all audiences. You know, small children, people that are easily offended, whatnot. All right, well, thanks for joining us. Low Fact Podcast. Today it's just me and Andy because Matt's somewhere doing something.
Excuses. He's just making up shit.
Yes, okay, so here's something I always thought that's kind of strange. This whole do as I do, not as I say type of deal. I don't know if it's an argument or what. It's just, you know, this whole idea that you need to do what I tell you to do, but, you know, I don't need to do what I'm telling you to do.
That's like the whole parent thing where, you know, do what I say, not what I do.
Is it though?
Well, I associate it with parents the most because that's what my parents would do, you know. Don't do that, and then they would do it.
But what were they doing?
I was told not to swear as a child, but like they would squeeze it out all the time, and then they would get mad at me for swearing. And now I swear like a sailor. So I don't know. That might have done that. Maybe I would have never sworn if my parents told me not to swear so often.
I don't know. Is it? I guess you guys see it from two different perspectives.
What's the other side?
Well, first is the side of the person saying it.
Okay.
You know, first is the side from the person putting forth the proscription, admonition, whatever you want to call it, but saying, you know, this is what you got to do. And then the side of the recipient. Because the recipient's always sitting there going, well, why should I be doing this when you're sitting there doing X, Y, and Z? And, you know, I guess my first question is, are you guys equal?
In that regards, no. Because, you know, the parent is obviously above the child. The child doesn't know as much.
Supposed to be. So the parent is trying to instill some kind of
moral value, I guess.
Well, some kind of societal rule, I suppose. And then the kid's like, well, I don't have to do it because you're doing it. I mean, that's a little juvenile.
I could call it hypocritical from my side.
Only, yeah, but only if because to me, hypocrisy means claiming to believe in something that you do not.
Right.
Right? So just because you fail doesn't mean you don't believe it. Right? I could tell people not to lie, and I could feel that truth or honesty is actually
the best policy.
A general good. But just because I fall short and lie, does that really mean? I mean, it'd be one thing if I were a pathological liar, or if I were someone trying to manipulate people and saying, and I didn't really think that lying was bad.
Okay.
I just thought that if people lie, then it's bad for me or whatever. So I'm telling everyone, don't lie.
Because it's bad for everyone. But you lie, but you still believe in not lying, even though you fail yourself at times.
Right. And in that sense, I don't think hypocrisy, I mean, that is labeled hypocrisy, but I don't see that as being hypocritical. Right. If I were someone who indiscriminately had sex with everybody, men, women, vacuum cleaners, gophers, whatever, and told everyone you need to be monogamous.
That's hypocritical. That would be a more.
It would seem hypocritical, right? But then from my standpoint, if I said no, I believe that monogamy is good. I've got an illness. I can't do it.
I've got an illness, so I have sex with vacuums.
Well, you know, I mean that's kind of that's what the pedophiles are trying to claim.
Oh, they claim like it's like an actual relationship between the child and them. Like there's an actual loving thing there, and
I'm concerned that you actually have this insight. I don't want to know why.
It's hypocritical of you for me to make an example and you criticize it.
No, it's not.
I'm just trying to back out of this. This is a horrible example.
I see.
You brought it up, and unfortunately, I do know a little bit about it, and
see, Christ. Yeah. Now you're trying to back out of it, and it's looking worse and worse.
To the NSA agent that's listening right now, I I did not mean what you thought I mean. You mean it?
If there's an NSA agent listening right now, that person has really pissed off their boss. So, this is what happens when you piss off your boss.
Also, subscribe.
There you go. But yeah, so like the whole do as I say, not as I do, I don't think works very well, because it doesn't work very well in a society like ours, because there's a little bit more egalitarianism than in a strictly hierarchical society.
Right.
But I find it very, very funny that people in certain hierarchies, well, in all hierarchies, tell others you need to do XYZ, but because I'm the leader or I'm whatever, I can do whatever I please. And I don't necessarily think that that's a sign of good leadership. I don't think that that's something that I don't think you should throw the baby with the bathwater and say, I don't have to do it because you don't do it. I just think maybe I don't need to follow you.
Because of their hypocriticalness?
If they're indeed hypocrites, you actually put forth a good message. Being monogamous is actually probably something that's pretty good for society as a whole and yourself. There's in a whole slew of things. There's really no, if one is monogamous, there's really no danger of sexually transmitted diseases, of jealousies, of all kinds of weird stuff propping up. So yeah, that's probably good. But I don't know that I would be following someone who's touting the virtue of monogamy and, having sex with everything that moves.
And they have 3 dogs for some reason.
Well, a lot of people have 3 dogs. There's really no evil reason for it. I don't know.
I made the assumption that we're talking about the same dude as having the sex with vacuums, so he's probably gonna have sex with everything he can.
Keep up. I move. There's a lot of moving targets on stuff that I do. So trying to have any kind of cohesion to what I say is pretty much impossible. My brain works in a very weird way.
But I agree with that, honestly, when it comes to hypocritical leader. It affects me a lot. I'm not going to follow you if you're going to be like that. Now, I think there is some room where you can be a little hypocritical as long as you try to, you're trying to practice what you preach. Obviously, no one's perfect. We're humans. But if you give it a legitimate try, yeah, I'm going to give it to you. But if you're, like you said, you're blatantly hypocritical about it and there's, no shame whatsoever, I'm going to tell you to fuck off. I'm not going to listen to what you say.
So this comes down to, I guess, to answering a question that I had posed many, many, many podcasts ago, which is more important, the message or the messenger? I tend to come down to the side that the message is more important than the messenger.
It's bigger than the person at times. It's bigger than the messenger.
It usually is, and just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean what they're saying is untrue.
I still don't like them, but I agree.
Yeah, you can dislike them all you want, but if that message is correct, then that message is something that should be considered.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not emotionally mature enough to handle that kind of stuff. I am bitter and angry, and I will stay that way.
Well, that sounds like a dare. Sounds like a challenge. But yes, and we're coming close to the end, so there you have it. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, kind of funny to hear. Not necessarily incorrect, but, don't prop anybody up.
If the message is right, just let it go.
Thank you for listening to the Low Fact Podcast. Find us on Stitcher and iTunes. Just search Low Fact Podcast. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Low Fact Podcast. Send us an email at lowfactpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube. Search Low Fact. All the links can be found in our About. Also, look for my music on IG and Twitter at afantasyb.